premier Star Trek Deep Space Nine podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and this is
Brian. And you're going to have to really tune in your lobes, or you won't be able to hear us as we talk about whispers. I don't think I could do this for the entire episode.
That's what she said. Yeah, I can't either. Hey, I'm Alex. This is
Brian.
And we are going to talk in a normal inside voice, and we're going to talk about whispers in just a moment. The next episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And if you're new to the show and you got past all that heavy breathing and whispering in your ear, it's a simple show. It's two dudes, longtime friends, who one of them watched Deep Space Nine with bated breath every season, every week, every episode, and watched all the reruns. Another one was a guy who was deployed in the military. He caught him when he could, but he didn't see them all, and they thought, hey, what a great excuse to get together every week and have a couple of glasses of Tranya and discuss what we thought about this TV show from the 90s. And here we are with Audio Hoo-Mons. Does that wrap it up pretty well?
That's it precisely. So, yeah, glad to be here with you, my friend. And what is your Tranya this week?
I am, you know what? I jumped back in. I just had a birthday, as you know. And by the way, thanks so much for the birthday bonus episode last time. And thank you, listeners, for the forbearance. While we did not talk about an episode, we just kind of indulged the fact that it was my birthday and I had stuff going on. We usually record on a Wednesday night, and my birthday fell on a Wednesday this year, and so I appreciate that. So I fell back into, I'm having a lovely, refreshing Vesper Martini, and that is, I do it a little differently than 007. I have 2 parts vodka, a quarter part Lillet, and a half part gin, shaken gently. Actually, I stir mine. I stir gently, and I have a twist a limon. And here I am slurping it up. What are you drinking, my friend?
Very good. I keep it simple on most nights, doing scotch, ice, little bit of water. And that's it. Keeping it simple.
You know, simple is good. There's been plenty of nights lately when I've done that. Yesterday, as part of my birthday weekend festivities, you know, you have your birthday in the middle of the week, and then your family you don't see. My in-laws took me out to dinner for a steak at a steakhouse, and sorry vegans, it was delicious, and I opted for a Shinerbach beer with it, frankly.
Interesting.
Well, I wasn't buying, and I thought, I'm already going to order the strip, and I just felt bad about ordering a martini, and then I thought, we're at like a Texas Roadhouse. I don't think I want to order a martini here.
Yeah, probably not the best decision. Although they probably make a Tito's martini.
Yeah, and I think I did sit there
with bacon
for a moment with bacon. I did think for a minute, well, maybe I'll just order a Tito's Rocks. Then I thought, screw it, I'll have a beer. And you know what? Can I tell you something? That beer was really refreshing and nice.
Yeah, that's not a bad. That Shiner, that's a Texas-based.
It's a German recipe, Texas beer. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I like it. So that's the Tranya for this week. And
good.
I want to give a little news before we get into Whisper. Folks, if you haven't done it already, please make sure you whip out your smartphone and record a 30-second to a minute maybe of your name, your city that you live in, and your favorite episode of DS9 and why. And send that our way. We have one, by the way. And I'm not even going to say who it's from. It's friend of the show, but we do have one in our hot little hands, and we're going to play it at the end of the show, and we'll get to it then. But if you want to do that, you just got to send it to audiohoomox@gmail.com. It's so easy. Whip out your smartphone. With the iPhone, there's a memo. It's easy. You just hit the memo. You record it right there. You don't need a fancy studio like we have here in Chicago and Kansas City, our incredibly fancy home studios. You don't even need that. Just whip out your phone and give us your first name, where you're calling from, and say, this is my favorite DS9 episode, audiohoomox@gmail.com. We really, really, really want to share it with the fandom here. And awesome. Just saying, there's going to be a nice Star Trek branded prize given to one of our lucky entrants over the next few weeks.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think on the latest submission, we may not play the entire piece, but
pretty good, though. It's pretty good.
Savor, yeah, very good. But savor it and probably replay some bits as we get into season 3. So
I think so. Yes, because this person's favorite is there. And actually, I have still a couple in the can from some gentlemen I met at the Deep Space Nine documentary episode. If you'll remember, I asked them the question, but I held back, and they're not technically listeners to the show that I know of at this point. I haven't heard from them since then. I probably scared them off, but I do have their best episodes too. And what we're going to do with those, by the way, we're going to play them here and there on the show, but also probably, as we said before, at the end of the second season of this series, which coincides with the second season of DS9, Brian and I are going to do a few fun end of the year holiday themed episodes where we're going to just pull out like spring cleaning kind of stuff, like, oh, this is all the stuff we didn't cover, or our favorite Star Trek movies, or our thoughts on this, or is Discovery crap or not? Things like that we're going to talk about. But it'll be fun. So we're going to save it for them. But if you start entering anything you send us now until further notice, we will excerpt at least and use it on the show so you can tell everybody, our dozens of listeners, what you think of DS9 and what your favorite episode is. So, boom. I wanted to make sure we had that before we started talking about these
whispers.
Don't be careless with those either.
Be careful now. The estate of George Michael will come after you.
This is true.
You're whispering carelessly.
You just got to have a faith that they won't be listening, because I don't think, frankly, we should worry too much. But you never know.
They will wham you with a lawsuit.
Oh, man. Oh, my
I was
God.
digging deep on that.
Well. Hey, we have one more thing I want to mention. And this is like, I'm not even going to talk too long about this. But I want to. So Brian and I record these on Wednesday nights usually, but just assume every Wednesday night, wherever you may be, whether you're enjoying your must-see TV or your tartar sauce or whatever it is you're doing, we are slaving away over these hot microphones talking about DS9 for your pleasure. Well, we're thinking towards the end of the summer, before we get into fall, before we get into the fun part of the year, we're thinking about maybe letting you guys be a fly on the wall while we record the show. And you're like, oh no, I don't know if I can handle the excitement. Wait, let me sit down, please. But wouldn't it be fun if, while Brian and I and we would just do our best not to edit ourselves or censor ourselves, we would just turn on the camera, a separate camera, a webcam, watching from the Green Shebeen Studios where I record, which is kind of the master recording spot because it's my gear that records, but we would still see Brian coming in from Chicago on one screen. So you would be like looking over my shoulder at me with Brian as we recorded an episode, and you would, warts and all, get to hear it. And here's the thing that you're like, why would I give a shit about that? Okay, maybe you wouldn't, but here's
bear with us.
Here's what you'd get with this, though. If you do this, one, it's an opportunity just to see how the sausage is made. But two, the things you don't get is you would see us pre-gaming the episode. And Brian and I, believe it or not, we have notes and we compare notes a little bit. We try not to over-prepare. Is that fair, Brian? We don't like to over-prepare.
Yeah.
And maybe that's evident as well. I don't.
I think the spontaneity of the conversation is best when we don't. These aren't set up gags and gigs. We're trying to get. Even if had something we've thought of that we thought was funny, we try and hold it to get the most authentic reaction
right
from the other host.
Yeah. The biggest problem Brian has is that he usually lands and has the funniest lines, and I step on them either by laughing or riffing and trying to be as funny as him, and it doesn't always work. So
we have fun.
We do have fun, and every now and then I land one too. So
absolutely.
It's a good thing. So what we're thinking is, if you haven't been following on YouTube, the links are in the show notes each and every week. And I'll need to make sure, Brian, we need to make sure those are on the Audio Hoo-Mons Facebook page, about section as well. But there's a link to it. All the audio from every episode is streamed also on YouTube, if you didn't know that. If you're like, I don't know, if you got caught unawares some Thursday and you're like, oh no, I didn't get my show downloaded on my smartphone, but I'm at work and I'm bored. If you have some headphones, just go to YouTube and look for Audio Hoo-Mons on YouTube. So what we thought we'd do is we'd go live, though. And here's the fun part. You can comment. This is where the fun comes in. if you go live with us while we're recording, you can comment as we are doing the show. So not only will it be like a behind-the-scenes look, but you can be part of the show by commenting, by doing a meta kind of commentary of like, oh my God, you really do that? That's your office? That's your recording studio? Wow, Brian doesn't look like I thought he did. Or whatever you want to say, or that was a dumb remark. They'll be there on the screen, and everything you say will be recorded on YouTube and will replay. It can be replayed later. And also, there's something they do on YouTube called Super Chats. Super Chats are fun in the sense that you can throw in $1 or two, literally $1 or two, and your comment gets above everybody else's. And we will read Super Chats during the show.
Awesome.
Brian and I'll say one last thing about this. And we don't have a date yet. Brian and I have some rehearsal to do on this. We got some stuff to do. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about at this point. He's like, okay.
This is technology that I'm completely unaware of.
But so here's the other thing. And I know we need to get to the episode, but I feel like we haven't really talked to anybody in a while. But I'll say this. We're going to let you know about that when it's going to happen. And don't worry, we're going to beat it to death on social and on the show about when the date will be, because we want you to tune in. It's going to be no fun if we're like crickets and nobody's paying attention during the show. So we really want you to do that. And we're going to have some other incentives, don't you worry. Besides the fact that you get to spout off in front of our dozens of listeners, you might win a prize or two. So there's lots of fun stuff going on. We're not, it's going to be fun. But the other thing is, and we'll talk about it more, I guess, next week.
Right.
But guess what's going to happen? Brian, why don't you tell the folks what's going to happen in a couple of weeks? Our next, we're going to have a recording session somewhere special.
My good friend Alex is, we're going to be actually in the same location. We've got special permission from Starfleet to
or the Maquis.
Because it's the risk of having both of us in the same place at the same time is so high.
Is it like matter and antimatter?
It's security. I think it's.
But does it really matter?
Section 31 kind of thing. But we're going to be together and hanging out in the greater Chicagoland area. And as we are, we're going to be sure to record at least one episode, a couple of episodes, and maybe some additional
man on the street material
that we may use, sprinkle throughout. Future episodes, but as much as anything, it's going to be great. We'll be able to spend some time together with a bottle of Tranya or two, and just enjoying a few episodes, enjoying talking, and of course hanging out. So that's that's the big news.
Yeah, and we may actually cut a spot or two or an episode or something, a bonus, a red alert. And everybody should know, red alerts are episodes that if you're just listening to the show to catch up on each episode, you can skip if you need to. But we might do a red alert just reminiscing about the first time I joined you in Chicago in our 20s.
Oh, that's right.
I drove up from Oklahoma to see this guy in Chicago.
Yeah.
You forget how quickly you forget, my brother.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
What a good time that was.
It was. It was many, many years ago.
Folks, so as you can see, we don't have a million listeners, and we don't have a lot of money. Although, if you want to give some money, the link in the show notes.
we will accept it.
We will accept it. But we have a lot of ideas, and we're hoping that if you're along for the ride, you'll keep doing what most of you are doing, which is sticking with us on social, listening to the show, and sharing it occasionally with your friends and neighbors. I'm going to shut up now because we have some whispering to do.
So this episode starts out. It's yet another just great Miles O'Brien episode.
You can't get enough Miles out of this episode.
They're really exploring Miles as a character, and Miles starts out, or the episode starts out with Miles on a runabout, and someone's in hot pursuit. He's trying to get away, and he opens a log.
Was it from Stuckey's or Lincoln?
Maybe. That was the Robert Plant.
The big log. Which I can't play any of that for you. We'd have to pay for it.
We'd be sued. But and things are just peculiar. And so Miles is trying to explain for, I guess, future people who discover, this recording, what's going on. And so that as he begins talking, it then flashes back.
Right.
Tries to explain what got him onto a runabout being chased, comes through the wormhole and is headed to the Parada system, and he really wants to create a log, a data log of all the strange occurrences that he can't quite put his finger on that have led up to this moment. It's like things have gone, just things are kind of sideways, just a little peculiar, just enough for him to notice, but not so much for him to completely identify what the cause is. So he starts this log to relay all of the things that, all these strange occurrences over that have led to this moment.
Right.
So now we flash back, and he's back at home at Deep Space Nine. Forgive me if I get some of these occurrences out of order.
Easy to do with this episode.
Right. So he's having dinner with Keiko, and Keiko is being extremely standoffish. Hard for me to recognize, but obviously pretty easy for Miles. She's just, they're like, he's trying to have a date night. I mean, it sounded painfully familiar. Trying to have a romantic evening with his wife. He's like, I've got a babysitter lined up. Everything's great, and she's given him the cold shoulder, and it's to the point where he feels uncomfortable, and Keiko's gesturing. It is obvious that she's uncomfortable as well. And
it's painful. It is painful to watch. And then when Molly just the great acting from Molly. Yeah, I know. It's, you know what? I don't pick on children, so let's just move on.
Okay. Oh, terrible. All right. So that goes on, and it's again painful, that interchange, and he knows something's wrong, and he doesn't see a blister appearing on his lip or anything. There's nothing, no dead giveaway of what's.
He still has his wedding ring, I think. Yeah. God,
and,
no blister.
He knows he cleared the cache on his search pad.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? He has his home pad and he has his engineering pad, and I think he confused the two. And she saw the search history, which was something about Ryzen. I'm going to stop. I can't. No, this is a family show.
Okay, so that's the first occurrence, and it's peculiar. It's not show-stopping, but it's just one that it just piqued his curiosity and awareness that something was off, and then it gets to he's back at work, and Captain Sisko, Commander Sisko, I guess.
Commander, it's still Commander, yes.
Still Commander.
Remember, has hair, Commander. No hair, Captain.
Captain.
Can't go wrong, usually.
So Commander Sisko is, is telling him, you've got to do your physical. I've got to get this to Starfleet. You've got to go do it. And O'Brien, of course, like a typical chief, is like, I've got work to do. I'm trying to get all this security ready for for this big visit, and got to take care of business. I don't have time for it. And Sisko pulls rank and says, you're going to go get it done. And then he goes to see Bashir, and Bashir is giving him the most thorough physical that he could possibly get. I mean, checking everything from temperature, every reading, every test, and then if it were me, I was just thinking, do I have something, or did a reading come back? Is it the big C, or is it something like that? But I think Miles was just more felt healthy and just assumed was just more annoyed than anything else. But what are your thoughts?
I think that I think Miles is a little uncomfortable with all of this and thinking it's all a bunch of BS, and he's got work to do. And here's Cisco kind of going around him and telling his subordinates to do stuff, and you don't do that. And I don't care if you're in the service or not. You were in the service, I wasn't, but you don't go around the chain of command. You just don't.
Right.
When I was VP of a TV station, and the station manager and president would go over me and tell producers to do shiz, that would go all over me. So, and I get that. Right. So then if he ordered me to go get probed, without so much as a fancy dinner, I'd be upset as well. So I think sure. I think it's adding to Miles's usually overworked and crabby way. And when you think about the fact that, he got such an unwarm welcome from his wife and daughter, it starts. Sure. What you're seeing here is things stacking up on the back of Miles O'Brien.
Right, yeah, and then there's so he runs into Jake, and Jake doesn't know quite what to do, and so he's trying to.
Jake seems normal to me.
He is, but I think the conversation back and forth, he just seems surprised by the appearance of Miles and that interaction. I thought so.
I didn't think he seemed surprised the initial time. No, I don't think he knew anything was up.
Oh yeah, you're right. So there were two encounters.
He needed help with his schooling and stuff.
Right.
And with the project. So I think Jake was clearly like, hey, it's Chief O'Brien. Hey, he can help me maybe get not just an A but an A+.
Right. So you're right. He was completely unaware. I was thinking of the second time that they met, where
he's shifting again.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And then the other things that keep happening is O'Brien's there are certain areas that he's unable to get into.
Can't access certain areas of the station.
Can't access things, and that seems extra peculiar given his particular role in the station. And so they keep trying to play it off as if it's specific to the security of these people coming to visit.
Right.
So
and it's clearly not.
Right.
Yeah, and so Miles goes through a lot of these. There's a lot of the examples we could give, and again, folks, if you're new to the series, we don't cover every little minute twist and turn of the plot because that's boring. We get to a point where there's a lot of these examples, and if I jump over one of your favorites, I will. But there's he kisses Keiko, and it's just like kissing your sister, and she's
right. Reminded me of the Back to the Future thing.
Kissing your mother. I expected when he pulled back from her to go, what? Do I have that Ractigino breath again? The Jamaican double strong, double sweet, not going for you. But yeah, so you have that kind of thing going on, and. But Miles is starting to go, something's not right. But then he gets buoyed by something, though, because he's getting paranoid as hell. But he gets buoyed by something, and that's when Odo returns to the station.
Right.
And Odo is not privy to anything else. And Odo's like, I'll check into this, Chief. We'll like this. And he's like, I got an ally. I can feel a little better. But it doesn't take long before he realizes that Odo apparently is in on it, too.
Right. Yeah, now they're trying to isolate Miles at this point, and he's trying to get away, and that's when he's hopping through all kinds of stuff to get into the runabout,
Right.
and get away from the station.
Right. And he does, and that's when we kind of catch up to the
to the beginning of the episode
where he's doing the logs. And I'm trying to think sure there's some other bits and pieces where, like, right before he leaves, the aforementioned interlude with Jake, where Jake is kind of like, just go tell him, go turn yourself in, it'll be okay, that. And it's so interesting to watch everybody at this point, because you're thinking, oh my God, this is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Right.
And, and they, Miles is like the last one who hasn't been snatched.
Right.
I mean,
and so being chased, and he finds a way to hide from Commander Sisko
and everybody.
as they're making chase. He goes through the wormhole, gets to the Parada system. He hides.
Yes.
They break off the chase to go for a rendezvous, and he sneaks behind them.
Right. Get thee behind me, Sisko. Yes.
Yeah. And then he beams in to something is going down, and he's trying to both stop it and figure it out at the same time. And that's when the confusion really happens. Door opens. There's another one of him.
Yeah.
And a gunfight ensues.
It's not even really a gunfight. They just nail him.
They just shoot him. Yeah. And he basically, they discover there at the last minute, this is a extremely well constructed replicant.
Yeah,
and
nice crossover. Yeah.
He dies, and they kind of brush the dust off their hands and say, "Okay, we're ready for our meeting."
I don't think it was quite that.
I mean, how would you?
I think it was very poignant, actually, that the Miles we've been with this whole episode, we realize that dawns on us. Oh my God! In a split second. Mm-hmm. The whole station has not been taken over by anybody. This isn't really Miles. He's a replicant, which is a word that was used. It's a Philip K. Dick fans will know that's a word that was used for Blade Runner, and the more human than human, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really well played here. It's like a really nice crossover of the two universes with the word, because replicant is not a word that many franchises feel comfortable using, because it so well defines the Philip K. Dick Blade Runner universe. Do androids dream of electric sheep? So what we have here, though, what I saw this, and this one got me because I'd forgotten. This is one of those ones that I'd seen in the day, maybe twice, and kind of forgotten about. And I'm watching this, and I'm not really remembering what happens at the end. And then he's there, and it's like, oh, sheesh, that's not even Miles. That's but so I instantly put myself in the dying Miles seat, where all he knows is I'm Miles O'Brien, and I'm dying, and there's another Miles staring at me saying, you're not real. But his last impulse is tell Keiko, tell her I love. I mean, I think they didn't play that scene. I mean, maybe they would. Maybe I'm too maudlin, but I wish they could have milked that for a little more.
That and I think that's one of my challenges, is that confrontation should have happened maybe earlier.
Was it too abrupt for you?
that there could be more explanation, because it left me with a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think it was too abrupt. I think they were probably trying very hard not to make it too on the nose and sad, but it was sad. How can it not be? This is still whoever it is, or whatever his mission was. This is still Miles. They took all his M-grams or whatever the hell, and the golden grams, I don't know what they call them, and they made him into this replicant, and here you go.
But from a science standpoint, it left me wandering, because you've got
wandering. Where you going?
well, wander and wondering.
Oh, wondering.
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Is how much is a replicant like an android? So I thought Data at the time was the only known sentient android.
If you're
so
gonna pull
so
continuity
it's not
into this thing here,
right. What? But you have to.
you do.
I mean,
It's the same universe.
Otherwise, you're just fully suspending disbelief, and just it's then the magic of Star Trek and not the science of Star Trek.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And so that's what struck me was, okay, so now you have this sentient being that they had no problem killing,
right?
When they could have very well stunned, right?
Well, but it wasn't Starfleet who did it. It was those other dudes who saw him as a threat, and they were just
fair enough.
But
But
those
but
guys with the makeup. But the makeup was interesting, by the way.
It was. Yeah,
Pretty good, actually.
They look pretty interesting, and but for me it was this Miles thing is a replicant part android. It had to have been mostly human.
I saw him more like.
So is it like?
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because it had to pass that. That's why Julian spent so much time on it, was because it had to pass every physical examination that was thrown at it. And that was shocking to Julian in retrospect, is that he couldn't figure out how to make it fail the test.
And this is where you're going to be at a disadvantage a little bit here in the conversation, but you sparked me on something here, and this is something that TNG never really addressed. Okay, you make a great point about established canon where Data is the most advanced humanoid android that in existence. However, does the name Dr. Roger Corby mean anything to you?
That rings a bell.
All right. Does the planet XO3 ring a bell? How about Shat? How about Captain Kirk with a double on a planet with the guy from the Addams Family and the hottest babe in Star Trek ever?
Okay.
How about the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of? How about him on a Lazy Susan with a styrofoam dummy? When they spin it around, he turns into a perfect replica of Kirk who could pass Dr. McCoy's ministrations, and they believed it. Yeah, so there is precedent, there is continuity, but you are not to be criticized or humiliated because you're right in the TNG world, which is where DS9 lives in the TNG verse. Let's just be straight up here. I hate to admit that. They don't live in the Kirk verse. They live in the TNG verse, right? It's 80 years plus past the original series. But I just direct all of you listeners who are like, I'm on Team Brian about this because to what are little girls made of?
Yeah, it's not a clone. It's not an android.
But dude, because Ruck,
something in between.
No, because Ruck and Andrea and Brownie, you just need to watch the episode. This would be good to watch together. Ruck and Brownie and then the Kirk replicant that was made by Dr. Corby. Spock couldn't tell the difference except for one thing. Kirk's on the Lazy Susan, and right before they, hit the button that makes him, he starts spouting all this racist stuff.
Mind your own business, Mr. Spock. I'm sick of your half-breed interference. Do you hear?
Stuff that made no sense. So when Spock was kind of being a gentle interlocutor of Kirk when he appeared on the ship again, he's like, "Sir, are we going to do this or this?" And then all of a sudden he just flies off the handle and calls him a half-breed. Spock's like, fascinating, and no, that's not Jim. So anyway, I'm going to direct everybody listening to this. I love that about our discussions, by the way, because I didn't even think of that until just now. Go back to, and it's written by Robert Bloch, by the way, the great sci-fi and horror author who wrote something you might have heard of called Psycho when he wasn't writing for Star Trek. He wrote 2 episodes of Star Trek, including What Are Little Girls Made Of, as I discussed, and Cat's Paw. Okay, back to the show. So you make a great point, but apparently the technology does exist in the verse.
Fair enough. Thank you for correcting me. It was.
I don't like correcting.
That challenged me just because it seemed implausible.
Wouldn't it have been great though if they had said something like one of the aliens had said, "Yes, this was some technology we recovered from XO3."
Yeah, that would have been That would
the
have
ice
closed
planet.
the loop. Yeah.
Also, I just have to say this to everybody listening. Okay, and Brian, do you know the meme where there's Shat? He's in like a cave holding a giant
Stalagmite or
but it looks like something else. That's that
yes.
episode.
Okay.
In fact, there's a whole blog. I think it's called Captain Kirk's Dong or something like that. That's based on. Look, I defy you to look at this, people, and I'm gonna have to put it on the episode. I'm gonna have to put it in the show notes. I defy you to look at that and not think of that. I'm sorry. All right, I've gone on too far. We've gone on too far in this episode. So it ends to me in a very poignant moment because I love Miles. You know what's really kind of sad about this, though? There's all this great dialogue between him and Julian, and it's technically him, but it's not him.
Oh, that's true.
But you start seeing kind of the love there. You know what I'm talking about. The platonic love between these two. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Miles, yet again, experiences, pain and death. So even though that wasn't him specifically, it was his psyche, his guts, his whatever, has to experience pain, and he has to witness his own death.
Oh my God.
The real Miles has to witness his own death.
And his face is, he's just like, he's barely comprehending it. You could
right.
And he got hit or beat up, right? Is that what?
Well, he had been abducted.
Right.
Is what it was. And so they rescued him, but the replicant
Miles,
was already loose on the ship at that time.
But the real Miles was like kind of, he looked like he had some scratches.
Yeah. He got the crap beat out of him when he was abducted.
So he's got all that going on, and he's worried about everything, and then he's been told, oh, by the way, and then he's like, oh, he's watching him. And he says, doesn't he even sit down and the first thing he says, oh, it's perfect? Or does he say he's perfect? I don't remember. Something
like that. Yeah. I mean, I just couldn't imagine how disconcerting it would be to see an identical version of myself appearing, right in front of me, haunting me. So yeah, that was certainly interesting.
All right. Well, I guess we don't want to belabor it too much. We've got a lot to do here, things to get on with. Do you have some Latinum to distribute for this episode, my friend?
So on first, I was originally going to give it just like 3 because I loved Miles and just seeing all this conflict that he was trying to resolve, but not more because of the technical problems. But now that you've explained that further, I would bump that up to beyond a careless whisper. I would go up to a full-fledged whisper.
A full-fledged whisper. All right.
Give it 3.5.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So 3 bars, 5 strips. Is that our measurement right there?
Yeah. It's interesting. Before this discussion, I was only going to give it 3 solid ones, but you know what? It deserves more than that. It's a good episode. It's well played. It's well said. It's well written, and it's well acted. And you know what? I hate doing this though because we keep agreeing too much. But I'm not going to invent a controversy or a controversy where one does not exist. So I'm going to go with you. 3.5 Latinum bars and strips and clinkle, clinkle, clinkle. I don't know if that's. I got to find that sound effect. So there you go.
Very good.
You know what? We got to move. We got to get moving. This is a long episode, but we promised you that we'd play you one of our audio-umox@gmail.com fan moments telling us their favorite. And without further ado, here we go.
Hello, Alex and Brian. My name is Mike Finney, known on the internet as Finney Can Help. It's nice to finally meet you. Although I've been from lots of different places, Highlander style, I currently live in Missouri of the United States of America. Star Trek in general has given me humor, passion, things to think deeper about, and most importantly, hope. So my favorite DS9 episode is called Past Tense, Part 2, and it has all of that. It's the one with the bell riots. I have 2 favorite lines from that one episode. The funny line is from a character known as Grady, who says, "Whoosh, I'm invisible." The other one is from Cisco, when he's chewing out Vin, a worker at the sanctuary district. That's where Cisco is saying with great frustration, passion, and anger in his voice the following. You don't know what any of this is about, do you? You work here. You see these people every day, how they live, and you just don't get it. Well, so Alex and Brian, you two get it. Thanks for having a great show that is a beacon of light and hope for all of its listeners.
Oh my God, it's
Finney.
returning.
That's fantastic.
The super fan.
That's awesome, and a great episode. I look forward to revisiting some of that clip here in.
Well, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag, because I mean I think those two episodes that he loves so much are quite a riot. Anyway, he'll get that joke. I think we should. I'm going to embarrass him, and I'm not even going to ask him offline. I'm not even going to say. I think we invite Mike to come on and talk about those episodes, the past tense 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome if he's willing and available, and that'd be great.
I don't want to freak him out. He might be going, "Oh shit, I don't want to do that." But Mike, listen, buddy. Yeah, we need to have you on anyway because you're our super fan of the show. You have turned a lot of people onto us and been so friendly, and you've provided money to keep the show going and prizes and all that stuff. But so you've got now about what? You've got probably about 5 months, 4 or 5 months, because I think with our schedule the way it is, that's how long it'll be. But we will plan this in advance, and don't worry, you'll do great. So we hope you'll accept the invitation, tentative as it is at the moment, to appear for those 2 episodes when we discuss past tense 1 and 2, which are tremendous episodes, and those are episodes season 3, 11, and 12. So thank you, Mike. So remember, you can be the next Mike Finney. All you have to do is whip out your smartphone, record a memo, and then email it to audioumox@gmail.com.
Very good. And now next week we will be diving into...
I got 2 tickets. Do you?
And they are to Paradise. Yeah, it's good old Eddie Money.
Yeah, pack your bags. We'll leave tonight, man. Let's go.
The docking ring is closed.